Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Day Chats. I hope your Thanksgiving holiday or your Thanksgiving break was fantastic. Today's episode is a little bit different than what we've been doing the past few weeks. It's a little lighthearted. The last few episodes have been more educational, more learning about different themes and different ideas. But today I figured what better way to start off the holiday season than just talking about something that really kicks off the holiday season and our dating life and what that is like. And of course, our dating life is a shit show. So who better to tell that story than here I am with my best friend, none other than Jules.
Hi, everybody.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, after 2 margaritas, I'm feeling really relaxed. So that's good, you know. All is well.
So exciting. Jules just recently crossed over to the single side, which is so exciting.
Thank God.
Because we have never been single at the same time.
Yeah, we've always been like in serious relationships. I think like at opposite times, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So as soon as I become single, she'll get into a relationship and vice versa. So at the beginning of quarantine, we were both single at the same time, but exactly that. We were quarantined, so we couldn't go out anywhere. Really, the Lord just did not want us to be single at the same time. And then shortly after, she got into a relationship, and now she joins me again onto the single side.
Club.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm excited to be on the single side for once at the same time.
But let's get right into it. Today's episode is going to be exactly that, very lighthearted, talking about our dating shit shows. Our dating life has really had its ups and downs. So what better way to do this episode than just putting ourselves on blast, putting some of these men on blast, and just talking about all the mishaps that we have had over the years. So let's get into it. Let's start with the stories, okay? This episode, we will really be talking about the times that we were side mistresses, and my best friend and I both relate because unfortunately, we both experienced that firsthand.
Yes, and personally, you too, Day. It wasn't on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like we went in it knowing that
they
this
were
was gonna
married
happen.
or like in a relationship.
Yes, no, we did not know. But unfortunately, that's what life had for us. So let's talk about it.
Life gave us lemons and we made our lemonade.
Exactly.
So let's talk about it. So, okay, let's take a trip down memory lane, down to our freshman year of college. This is when we were roommates. And this was really the first time that I encountered dating apps. So when we moved to college, all of our roommates downloaded Tinder. The school that we went to was very close to a military base. So we always saw a lot of Marines. So military guys were what we would see on these dating apps. And when I was 18, I didn't really know what that negative stereotype was of military men. And shout out to you all if you guys are loyal, great military men. You know, thank you for your service. Appreciate all the work that you guys do for us. Unfortunately, not every guy is like that.
Yeah, and not to talk shit on the military at all. It was just our experience with these men, you know, and they do have a negative connotation, kind of like where we went to school.
Yeah.
So that is why. But, you know, shout out to all the loyal military men. We still love you. Oh, personally, I love a man in uniform.
Yes, I've grown to really enjoy a man in uniform.
Exactly. So thank you all for your service. But anyway.
So, okay, so I matched with this guy, and so we started talking. And the first red flag that I should have noted was that before we even met in person, we were FaceTiming and he said he wanted to marry me. He was so excited and envisioning this life of us being married and dating and like, you know, having kids or whatever. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm 18. I don't want to get married. Like, relax, like, slow down.
Yeah, you know, as like naive 18-year-olds though, like even though it might have been a little weird to you, you still kind of took it in and you were like, oh, you know, that's so cute.
Yeah, like
you
he wants commitment. Like he chose me.
Exactly. But girls, come on, that's a red flag.
Yeah, that's a
no
red
guy
flag.
knows that he wants to marry you after a day. I mean, maybe there's like those special like, you know, people that get married and it all works out. But like, come on, if someone tells you that they want to marry you after like a day or two, no, it's just
A red flag.
Red flag.
Be careful. But obviously, me being the naive 18-year-old I was, I didn't care and I kept talking to him. And the first time that I was going to meet him, I drove out to the base and I went by myself to the military base to go meet a man that I had never met. And this is a huge base, super big.
Yeah.
And I went there at night and they didn't even let me in. So he gave me all his information. Like, he sent me a picture of his ID, gave me everything. He was trying to get a ride so that he can come sign me as like a guest where I could come in, but he wasn't able to. So I ended up leaving. And so a couple days passed, and then I think the following weekend he got a ride and came over to my dorm. It was my first time knowing what Netflix and chill was. I was like, oh my God, why did he put such a boring freaking movie? It was like some movie it was a military movie.
Oh my goodness.
It was so boring. I wasn't even paying attention. And like now looking back now, I understand why he put that movie. Like, he probably chose a movie that didn't even matter.
Yeah, because it was just Netflix and chill, you know? He was trying to do other things. He wasn't really trying to watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly. He was trying to do other stuff. And we did do some other stuff. He had asked me at one point if I wanted to go into the bathroom with him. And I was like, no. No. Like, absolutely not. You will not catch me going into the bathroom. And I think mainly because at that point, like, I was scared. I didn't want to do that. Like, I wasn't ready. Like, I didn't even know, like, that's why he was there. And so, you know, I didn't give it up. I didn't do too much that night. And he left or whatever. We still kept talking. And then that's when it started happening about the military, or the Marine ball, I should say. It was a Marine ball. And I'm like, why is he not asking me to be his date? Like, we're talking. Everything's going well. Why has he not asked me to be his date? And so I start wondering, like, what the cause could be. And I start doing some snooping like any other person would. I go on Facebook and I look up his name and I see, okay, what is he hiding? Well, to my surprise, I found that he had a fiance.
This guy was about to get married.
He was about to get married and his fiance had her profile in public. So I could see that she was posting about the money he sent her to buy a dress, the dress that she bought when she was planning to arrive. She put like, oh, gonna be leaving X state, you know, to California, because he's from New York. He's not even from California. So I was like, oh my God, you're kidding. You have to be kidding. This has to be old. Like, it can't be real. And I looked through his pictures because there's older pictures of them together. So I'm like, okay, maybe like this is old because there's pictures from 2012 and this was back in 2015. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this has to be old. Like, it can't be recently. But when I go on her profile, she has pictures from 2015, which was recently at that time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh my God, this dude played me. He played me like a game. He had a fiance.
Yeah, that is so sad. You know what I mean? Like, not sad for you, like, girl, you dodged a bullet, but it's sad for her, you know, for the fiance, because she had no idea at the time that this was going on with you.
Exactly. So obviously, me being the wonderful girl I was and I am, I cut it off with him. I don't remember, and I don't think I told him why I cut it off with him, but I did say, like, okay, I'm over this, we're done. And I never spoke to him again. Fast forward a year later, I was in a relationship with another guy, and I was in my history class at the time taking notes, being a good student. And then I get a friend request from this guy. And I'm like, weird. Why is the Marine adding me on Facebook? Last I had known, he had blocked me on Facebook for some reason. And so I accepted his friend request. And all of a sudden, he starts bombarding me with messages on Facebook, like blowing up my phone, calling me nonstop. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I open the messages and I see that it's not him. It's his fiance using his Facebook to add me, to talk to me and saying, I know who you are. I know where you live. I'm gonna come beat your ass. I can't believe what you did. Like, you're a homewrecker. Like, who the hell do you think you are? I'm literally about to go show up to your place right now. Like, don't think I don't know where you live. And remember, he had met me at my dorm. So she probably thought, like, you still live there, but I didn't. So I was like, what are you talking about? And I literally, like, I wasn't phased. Like, I was kind of in this state of disbelief. Like, I couldn't believe this was actually happening to me.
You're like, I'm in another relationship. Like, how is this coming back to me now?
Exactly. Like, I am in a new relationship. At this point, I had already been with this guy for months now. So I'm like, what is going on here? And so I told her, like, you need to wait. Like, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards, but I'm in class right now. But she just kept blowing up my phone. And she's like, sorry, like, I'm impatient. Because I gave her a little bit of, like, how we met, how we started talking and stuff like that. And then so she started to calm down a little bit. So me being the dramatic person I am, kind of, I literally put in our group chat. All my best friends and I are in a group chat. And I'm like, dude, you guys have no idea what just happened. The Marine's fiance just messaged me. Like, I'm about to call her right now. Who's on campus and who wants to, like, meet up so they can listen to the phone call. And I don't know, were you there? Were you there?
I want to say I was still in class while you guys were having this phone call with a girl. I was, like, literally just on my phone. I should have just left.
I know. that was me too. Like, I should have just left class instead of, like, being on my phone, but whatever. So I know some of our friends were there and I had her on speaker and I called her. And, you know, she was pretty nice to me when we talked on the phone, and I was telling her what we did, the things that we did when we would hang out in person, how far we went, which I know she appreciated that I would tell her. And he was there listening to everything I was saying, because you could hear her, like, asking, is this true? Like, I can't believe you would do that, to him. And then all of a sudden, when I told her, like, how far we went and the things that we did, you could hear her beat the shit out of him, literally, like, socking him like that.
Like, you
throwing things at him.
Not to, like, you know, support abuse, but oh, come on, you deserve it. You deserve to get slapped. You know,
yes.
You deserve to get slapped if you're cheating on your fiance. Like, not even your girlfriend. You're about to marry this girl and you're cheating on her.
Exactly. Like, and they had been dating for years.
Yeah, literally.
So, you know, I was very honest with her. I spoke to her woman to woman and I let her know what was going on. And I told her, you know, like, I cut it off with him when I found out about you. Granted, I should have probably told her at that time. Obviously, I had that opportunity at that time to tell her, and I did. And surprisingly, she added me on all my social media. She, like, gave me her number. We became decent friends. I wouldn't say we're good friends, but we're very amicable. To this day, she will still comment on my stuff. She'll give me likes. She'll reach out every now and then. Even after that whole fiasco happened, like 6 or 8 months later, she came back again because they stayed together. After everything she found out, they still stayed together years after that. They're not together anymore from what it seems like, but...
You know what? I'm glad they're not together, because I feel like once a cheater, always a cheater. I do believe that people can change, but, like, come on. I don't know. Maybe it's just personal. I can't go back with the cheater. You know what I mean? So I'm glad they're not together because, you know... From what it seems, like what you told us, like she was actually like a nice girl.
While she was still with him, she invited me to a bonfire with him and his friends and her. And I'm like,
that's weird.
Why would you want me of all people there? Like,
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was so weird. I graciously declined because I didn't want to go. But yeah, we're still good. But that was the time that I was a side mistress. It all really blew up for him. Like,
I hope he's not cheating on somebody else right now. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, he got discharged from the military, and she told me the tea. I don't want to share too much, but let's just say it wasn't on great terms.
Jesus.
So I wonder what his life is going. Actually, no, I don't really wonder. I don't really care to know, but it's an interesting story to say the least. That's always my go-to story. That's probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, aside from being a stepmom like 5 different times.
I don't know what is with single dads and you. Like, they literally look for you to be like a stepmom. I don't know what it is, but literally out of all of our friends, you're the one who's always like stuck in that position. You know what I mean?
I know. We can talk about that in a little bit, but Jules, why don't you tell us about the time that you were a side mistress?
Oh my God, sure. Okay, so you know what? So the first year we lived in a dorm. It was me, Day, and like 4 other girls. We kind of had like this little apartment. But the second year, I was living at home. So, you know, I was still on Tinder, doing my thing, whatever, dating random guys. And let's call him Miguel. He kind of looked like a Miguel. So, you know, we start talking, and like right away, he is like too anxious to meet me. He's like, you know, let's meet right now, blah, blah, like, you just look like the love of my life. Oh my and like, I want to marry you. And blah,
another
blah,
red
blah.
flag.
And yeah, I was kind of like, oh, this is weird. But he's really nice. You know, I still kind of like had that mentality of like, they're nice though. So like, give them a chance or whatever. Go for it. It's
you never
okay.
know.
Yeah. And I actually got that advice from a couple of my friends. Like, just go for it, including Day. So here I am.
We're very naive. Back in the day.
We really
still a little bit are sometimes.
Yeah.
But now it's not naiveness, it's just being a dumb bitch. But,
exactly.
you know.
So anyway, we were talking and I was like, I was into the whole talk or whatever. I was like, he's cute, he's nice, you know, what a gentleman. So we finally go on our first date. So this guy shows up to my house and he calls me. He's like, hey, I'm outside. Like, do you want me to pick you up at your door? Like, you know, like, do your parents expect me to meet them? And I was like, oh my God, what a gentleman.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what
like,
we love to see.
Exactly. And I was like, you know what? Like, thanks, but no. Because, like, I don't want to explain to my parents, like, hey, I'm going on a Tinder date. Like, yeah. I don't know about y'all, but, like, I'm not about to tell my parents I'm going on these because they're going to be like, you are crazy. You're going to get killed.
You're not going anywhere. You're going to stay home.
Yeah. So this guy, he picks me up. We go to, like, this, like, luxury theater. Well, back in the day, it was, like, a luxury theater. Now it's, like, a whatever theater. Mm-hmm. We're having a good time, like, we're really hitting it off, and, like, I was really feeling this guy. I was like, you know what, like, I think this is gonna go somewhere.
This is the one.
This is the one. He already said he wants to marry me after a week,
so for sure it's gonna work out.
Exactly. So anyway, like, we just keep talking, we hang out a couple more times, and then we kind of just, like, fall off, you know, like, it just kind of happened. So we stopped talking. I was, like, a little bit heartbroken, but I was like, you know what? It's probably for a reason. Red flag number one, he was a barber. Yes, Miguel was a barber. And they also kind of have, like, you know, negative connotation around here. Like, if you're a barber, you're pretty much a player. So, whatever. We fell off. I kind of forgot about him. Time passes and I get into another relationship, and this is actually like a serious relationship. We're not going to talk about that. It's just like during this time that I was dating this guy, I was like just scrolling through Instagram on my Discover page, and I see this wedding picture. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Like, I didn't know who it was, but I was like, oh, that's a cute picture, you know? So I click it to like see it in like, you know, bigger. And then I'm like, wait, do I know who that is? And I click the freaking profile, and it's this guy, Miguel, at his wedding. Oh my god. I literally was like,
El descaro.
I know. And I literally was like, oh my god. And my boyfriend at the time was like, what? And I was like, oh no, nothing. Like, nothing's going on. Don't worry about it. So I just like scrolled through this Instagram page, and I saw that he had just gotten married. He had been with this girl for years. They even had a fucking daughter.
Oh my god.
They had a daughter. And
Did he ever bring up that he had a kid when you guys went on a date?
No. You know what he said, which actually makes me more sad? He denied his kid. So he said like, oh yeah, my niece lives with me, blah, blah, blah. But it was his fucking kid. It wasn't his niece. Trash. What a trash of a guy. And you know, I really debated whether I should like message his wife and tell her something. But I was like, you know what? Like, no, I don't want to get into it, because I started looking through her profile and I realized that we had friends in common. So I kind of didn't want to start anything, you know? Like, I didn't want to tell her, like, hey, this is going on, and, like, her not react well to it.
Yeah.
So I kind of just let it be. And it had been
so long at that time. Like, at that point, it had been a while, right? Because you were already in a relationship.
2 months. Yeah, like 2 months. Because after, like, we fell off, right after that, I started talking to who became my boyfriend. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like 2 months. So, a little bit. But, I don't know. It was just really sad. I was sad for her and her daughter, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the time that I was a mistress without knowing that I was a mistress. Oh my god. But now looking back at it, you know, when he picked me up, he was late. So he told me like at a certain time, and then he ended up being late. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just had to borrow my brother's car. And I was like, what's wrong with your car? and he kind of got a little nervous, and he was mumbling over his word. And he was like, my mom had to borrow it. But now that I think about it, I was like, his freaking fiance was probably using the car. So he didn't have a way to get to me.
Or he was probably having family time with them or doing something with them.
Yeah, you know? So he needed to borrow somebody else's car to come see his mistress.
Or maybe it wasn't even his brother's car. Maybe it really was his car, like one of his cars.
Maybe.
But he just needed to, like, time to account for the time that he spent with his other family.
Maybe. Who knows?
I don't know. But these men are wild.
They are.
But he had a kid. So, you know, that kind of leads us into the next point that we wanted to talk about here. The times that we have been unintentional stepmoms. And I say that very loosely. I'm not talking about literal stepmoms where we're here meeting the kids or, you know, talking to the kids or, you know, having that much interaction with them, but just the point where you're dating a guy with a kid and you assume some of that responsibility. So let's talk about it, Jules. What has been your experience dating guys with kids? Do they tell you? Are they upfront? How do you find out? Give us the whole tea. I want to know it all.
All right. So I've only had this experience once, unlike you. I wouldn't even say like we dated. We just started talking. So this
was an entanglement.
I guess, yes, an entanglement. At the beginning of this year sometime. I don't know. Sometime after I became single, I was just on Tinder or something. I don't even know. And
there should be an ad for Tinder.
Seriously.
2 episodes that we've talked about Tinder. Like, come on. Sponsor us.
Right. So whatever, I matched with this guy and I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. Like, he was the definition of my type and he was tall and everything was just perfect. And I was like, yes, you know, this is perfect.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'm not a naive little girl like I was before. And this guy, straight off the bat, started, like, calling me babe. And, like, I can't wait till we get married and buy our own house. And I was like, what the fuck? But, like, I'm so nice that I can't straight up just cut you off, you know? Yeah. So, like, I will let things be for a while and then figure out a way to cut it off. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, you know, let me tell him that I'm not comfortable with that. So I did. I was like, you know what? Like, you know, you're really cool and all, but I don't think you should be calling me babe, whatever. So he relaxed a little bit. So then after that, we were FaceTime each other a lot. And during the FaceTime calls, I was like, this guy is nuts. Like, he's nuts because he was like, oh, you're the love of my life. I'm going to marry you.
And how long was this into it?
This
like,
was days.
Days?
Like, this
okay,
was days.
I was about to say weeks. So, no, this was days. Okay.
Literally days. So at some point during one of the FaceTime calls, his mom walks into his room. And she's like, oh, who are you talking to? And he's like, I'm talking to my lady, my future wife. And I was like, oh my God.
Secondhand embarrassment.
Yes.
Oh,
he literally said that. And I got so red and I hung up because I was like, if this guy wants me to meet his mom through FaceTime, even though I've quote unquote known him for 2 days, like, this is just not going to happen.
Were you even ready?
Like, no. I was like, totally like normal,
like casual, just like FaceTiming a guy, not like ready, like, let me meet some people.
And like, I'm not gonna meet your mom over FaceTime. That's weird, you know? So yeah, this guy was just, he went from 0 to 100 real quick. Like, after 24 hours of knowing me, he was just like, I'm gonna marry you, we're gonna buy a house. He would even ask me things like, hey babe, like, how many dogs do you want? And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I don't know you. But me being the nice person I am, I just kept talking to him. I think it was like the second time that I FaceTimed him. He mentioned casually that he had a daughter, and I was like,
I love how they just throw in there, like, yeah, my favorite color is blue and I have a daughter and my favorite food is Chinese food.
Exactly. Like, that's how it went.
Like,
and
hold on, bring it back. What?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Like, huh? And then he's like, oh yeah, I didn't tell you. I was like, no, you didn't tell me. He's like, oh, long story. So he pretty much told me this long story how, like, right when he got out of the military, another military guy, he had an entanglement with some random girl and had a child with her. His daughter doesn't live with him, but I think he has her on weekends or something. So one of, like, the second or third time we FaceTimed, she was there and he was like, oh, you want to be my daughter, babe? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I think he even said something like, oh, like, you're going to be a great stepmom or something.
Oh my gosh.
Let's just say, like, no, please, no. And when he said, do you want to meet my daughter? As much as I love kids, because one, like, I work with kids, you know, I'm just like a kid person. But I was like, no, like, poor little girl. She can't just meet me and like... And
especially if he's talking about you in that way of like my future wife. Like,
exactly.
He's not going to say, oh, this is my friend. He's going to say, oh, this is going to be your future stepmom.
Exactly.
Like,
so, like, no.
The heartbreak.
You know, I was like, you know what? No, like, I'm not ready for that. And he's like, yeah, I understand. Whatever. So, this probably lasted, like, 2 more days, and I completely cut it off because I was just shook, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
I want to say the last time we talked, I was talking about how I had just gotten a puppy, because I had just gotten my puppy at that time. And he was like, oh, that's so cute, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, honestly, I kind of want to get another one. Because I wanted to, like, have more dogs. And he was like, oh, I'll buy you a dog. What kind of dog do you want? And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm kidding. It's too much work. This guy, the next day, takes a picture of a dog and tells me, hey, babe, I bought you a dog.
And this was even before you guys had even met, right?
We
like, in person.
never met. So this guy literally bought me a dog and asked me for my address so he could drop off my puppy. And this is when I was like,
you're a psychopath, a sociopath.
I was like, I'm sorry, but I cannot accept the dog. Like, I don't even know you. But he's like, you don't need to know me yet. Like, you're the love of my life. I'll do anything for you. And I was like, what the fuck? So I was like, you know what? This is too much. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry you bought the dog. Like, you're gonna have to return it or, like, sell it or something. But I'm not gonna accept the dog. And, like, goodbye. Like, I just could not do it anymore. Like, this guy was psycho, you know?
Absolutely. I don't even know how I'd feel.
It was kind of scary, to be honest. It was kind of scary. It felt weird. Like, he never, like, threatened me in any way, but, like, it just felt weird. Like, why are you so...
straightforward and, like...
that's way too much.
I feel like... I don't know if it's just me, because, like, the slightest bit of, like, that much commitment just freaks me out.
Yeah.
But... when it's so soon, it's like, okay, there's something, you got issues.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you.
There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And it's not me being like, being afraid of commitment. It's you, there's something wrong with you. You got to figure that out.
Exactly.
I'm not here for that ride.
So that's exactly why it freaked me out. I was like, that's not even normal at this point. Like, you've literally known me for 3 to 4 days and you bought me a dog. You wanted me to meet your daughter and your mom through FaceTime and, like, just all of these things. It was like, what the heck? But all right. I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. You're a great guy and everything, but, you know, this is not going to work out. So I cut it off and he was like, oh, I understand. So that was surprising. But then the next day he, like, texted me, like, paragraphs and paragraphs about...
like a whole book.
Yeah. About how he's never met somebody like me and he wants to marry me and blah, blah, blah.
Gosh.
So I just blocked his number because I was like, this guy's not going to understand. He's just going to keep texting me. And I would say, I'm not saying that it was him, but months after that, I would keep getting texts from different numbers saying, like, hey, girl, it's Michelle.
Oh,
remember all that? Yeah.
Yes.
So I kept getting all of these random
now that you
texts.
say that, putting 2 and 2 together.
Do you feel like it was him?
It probably is him.
Yeah. I think so, too.
Yeah.
So I would just get random texts. Oh, hey, I'm this. Hey, I'm that. What's up, girl? And I'm like, what the heck? Like,
yeah.
I know I'm Michelle, but I know it's not that Michelle for sure, you know? And yeah, it was just weird. And I'm pretty sure it was him because right before that I started talking to him, I had changed my number. So not a lot of people had my number. You know what I mean? So I was like, it would only make sense that this psychopath is trying to contact me through fake numbers or whatever. So yeah, I guess that was more of a psychopath.
I love it. I love it.
It's more instead of a stepmom, but that was, I
mean, but still.
My stepmom story. That was kind of scary, but yeah. But let's move on to you. What about you and your adventures?
Oh my gosh. So I've actually had that happen to me multiple times. I don't know why. Similar how you said, I feel like single dads just gravitate towards me. I have had a few instances and I will combine them, most of them, like the most notable ones together. So the first guy, we will call him Jordan. Jordan and I met and I didn't know that he had a kid. So we had already gone out on our first date, second date, still no talk about having a child. It wasn't until it wasn't until after we had our third date, which keep in mind, we're like probably a week apart, where I started doing some snooping on his Instagram, and I saw that he had a picture with a kid, and I was like, okay, like, is that his brother, nephew, cousin? Who is this child? So I started going down and snooping more, and I come to see that it's his son. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Why don't you mention that like way before? If you have a child, you know, you really do need to mention that in the first few days.
And again, I was 19 or 20, and I'm like, really? Like, you're not going to tell me that you have a kid? Don't you think that's important for me to know? Like, especially if we're already dating, like going out on dates, getting to know each other more. Like, he didn't tell me that he had a kid. So I'm like, oh, like, what the heck? So I confronted him about it, and I was like, do you have a child? And he's like, yeah, I do, but I didn't want to tell you because I didn't know how you would take it. I really like you and I wanted to get to know you. And I'm like, I feel like this is something that you should have told me. Like, this isn't something like small. It's like literally your offspring.
Yeah, like literally. And to be honest, like, it doesn't matter how the other person reacts. Like, this is literally your child.
And your child should come first. Exactly.
You shouldn't be so worried about what somebody else is going to think. Like, who cares what they think? Like, you have a child.
Exactly. That should be the first thing that you should know. Like, is this person even going to want to be in your life? You know, like, why even bother getting to know that person if they don't even want to be with someone with kids? Exactly. And he was the first person I had ever dated with a kid. And against my judgment, I decided to stay with him. And I know when I told my mom, she was not happy about it, because I want to say I really was 19, actually. I don't think I was 20 yet. No, I was 19, because it was after my ex and I broke up, and I was 19.
Really? He was the first one?
He was one of the first ones, yeah.
Makes it sound like we've dated like 500
I
people.
know. It's just like, oh God. I take breaks in between, but just, there was, after my breakup, it just happens. It just happens. I dated some people after my breakup, but he was one of the first few people. So I was young, and obviously my mom and my dad were not too fond of that idea, because they were like, you're not just dating him, you're dating the child as well. Like, he's not obviously going to put you first. The child will always come first, as it should. And it's true. And so his child actually lived in a different state. And so his child was coming to visit for the holidays, for Christmas. And a week before Christmas, he told me he wanted me to meet his son. And we had only been dating for like a month at this point. And I already felt very unsure if I even wanted to be dating him because of the child, because I didn't think I was ready for that kind of commitment and responsibility. And I was like, okay, well, your child is going to be here for 3 weeks. So what does that mean for us? Like, you know, like, obviously I'm fine with whatever you want to do, but like, just let me know. And he's like, well, I want you to meet him. And I was like, like, don't you think that's too soon? Like, I don't feel like I don't want to be disrespectful to the mom. I don't want to be disrespectful to the child. I feel like that's too soon. And he literally said like, something like, I would introduce my son to anyone. So like, I think it's fair for you to meet him since he's going to be here and he's a big part of my life. Like, we should take advantage that he's here and you should meet him. So fast forward, I ended up telling him no, that I wasn't comfortable meeting his son. And he was a little hesitant about that. Like, he really wanted me to meet him, but ultimately he respected that I didn't want to. And I ended up breaking up with him, like, even before his son came, like a few short days after that, because a whole shit show of it on its own happened. So I broke up with him, blocked him, and never talked to him again. So that was my first guy, like the first guy I dated that I found out that he had a son. The second guy I dated was at the beginning of quarantine. Yeah, right when we were on lockdown, I started dating this guy, and he, exactly how I explained it earlier, how he was telling, your guy was telling you like, casually and just popped it in that he had a kid. Yeah. That's how this guy, which we will call him Jeremy told me out of nowhere that he had a child. And I was like, wait, hold on, what? And he's like, oh yeah, I was married before I'm divorced. And I was like, wait, wait.
Like, excuse me?
Double whammy. stop. Wait, what are you talking about? So it happened because we were texting and he's like, oh, he has this nickname for his son. But he told me, oh, I'm with, let's pretend he calls his son Pepper. I'm with Pepper. And I'm like, what's Pepper? Who's Pepper? And he's like, oh, that's my son. And I was like,
oh, it's my dog.
I was like, you're what? He's like, yeah, that's my son. I'm like, you have a son? And he's like, yeah, I do. And then I was like, don't you feel like you should have told me that? It was the same conversation that I had with the other guy. I'm like, I feel like you should have told me that. But at this point, since I was already 22, no, I was 20. Yeah, I was 22. So I was like, I feel like that's something that you should have told me. Like, I'm totally fine with you having a son, but it just caught me off guard. And I feel like you took away a choice for me to make. Mm-hmm. Like, I should have been able to make that choice to see if I was okay with dating you, knowing that you had a son, or if I would rather not date someone with a kid. You took that choice away from me. And so...
Sorry, not to interrupt, but like that's something that's really important, you know? Especially when you start getting older. Yeah, the chances of you dating somebody with a child are much higher.
Yeah, as you get older, like... Yeah, which is fine.
You know, everyone has their personal choices. Like, if you want to date somebody with a kid, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But that's why you need to be so open about that, you know? Exactly. You don't have to disclose everything about your child, but simply just, hey, I have a kid.
Exactly. And I've only had it happen one time where the guy that I started dating or talking to told me immediately that he had not one, but 2 kids. And again, I had no idea that he had children, and he told me within the first 2 days, I think, 2-3 days, he told me, hey, by the way, I have 2 kids. I hope you're okay with that. If not, I totally understand. And because he told me, because he was so straight up and honest, I said, nope, that's totally fine. Thank you so much for telling me. We had a small conversation about the dynamics of what his relationship with his kids are. It was great. I always respected him in the sense of him telling me. I respected the times that he would spend with his kids. There were times where he would call me for 5 minutes and he's like, and we would literally talk for 5 minutes because it was in between when he was taking the kids to their bath or whatever, or dropping them off at mom's house. I would respect that because I knew what that was like. And if there's anybody that's dating a guy with kids, is that's what I would say is you don't come first, and you have to know that, and you have to be okay with that. You cannot put up these little fights or these scenes of oh my God, you don't even talk to me. We don't even talk that much. You don't even make time for me. If he has a kid, his kid comes first. So if his kid has a soccer game, he's going to go to the soccer game. Exactly. And if you're not invited, I mean, if you guys just started dating, then don't get offended. His kid is always going to come first no matter what. And no matter what, good or bad, the baby mama will always be in his life. Mm-hmm. And you have to be okay with that. And you have to be the bigger person and not start or fuel any drama.
Exactly.
So don't date a guy with a kid if you're not ready for that. And dating the other guys that I had is what prepared me for, at that point, knowing that... you know, how to deal with those situations, which, keep in mind, there was a time where I used the word dating a little loosely. They were kind of just, we were getting to know each other. It was nothing exclusive. So it was fine for me to be talking to more than one person at a time. Jeremy and this other guy, we'll call him Mikey. Jeremy and Mikey both had kids. So 3 kids combined of different ages. It was just a lot of children for me to keep track of. So yes, so those are the most notable stories that I have about being a stepmom. I don't know if I would want to date another guy with a kid right now, at least. I think I have a lot going on, and I just, like I said, I value a child that's not my own, and I just don't know if I can do all of that right now. And I respect that child enough to not put their father through that.
Exactly. Yeah. And personally, I mean, I wouldn't prefer it, but if it happened, I wouldn't be opposed to it either. Yeah. You know?
I love kids.
I love kids, so I wouldn't be opposed to it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's something that I would prefer right now. Yeah. I'm going to school for my master's degree, so I feel like that takes up a lot of my time. Mm-hmm. So if I'm dating somebody, it already takes up more time. But if they have a kid, I feel like that would just be extra.
Yeah, it's just an added responsibility.
Yeah, that I don't think I need.
Yeah, it's crazy for sure. Also, something that I always put my 2 cents in, for some reason, all the baby mamas that I've dealt with have not been good. So me having a history working in family law, if anybody ever needs any information, I'm not an attorney, I don't give advice. Information, I will gladly give it to you if you want to know about getting a divorce, getting custody, child support, paternity, all of that. I am your gal.
Your girl.
So for some reason, all the guys I've dated that have had kids, we have had to sit down and talk about like, okay, these are the things that you need to do in order to do this. These are the things that you need to do if you want to do that when it comes to like family law. So my knowledge in family law has been very useful and also very traumatizing in my dating life. So now you guys have a good idea of what our dating life has been like for the past few months and years. We've told you a little bit about what our college dating life was like and a little bit of our post-college dating life and quarantine dating. So we're going to end this episode with one story each telling the most dangerous, somewhat dangerous situations we have put ourselves in just to date these men. So Jules, kick us off. Tell us your story.
So I guess this was freshman year of college. Yeah, we'll call this guy Johnny. Tinder match. He was coming over to the dorm for the first time, and when he got there, he was like, hey, I'm outside. Let's go grab some snacks, because we were supposed to watch a movie. We all know what that's a quote for, but anywho, I went outside. It was like in the middle of the night, and I get in this man's car and just drive off. Okay, ladies, that is so stupid. You never get in a stranger's car. Like, we've learned that since we were like in kindergarten. And that is the first thing that I did. And we drove off. We went to
At night. Pitch black.
Herself. By myself with this man I've never met. Went to this shady gas station. Nothing happened, but thankfully. But okay. Still with this guy. This was like probably like second or third date. When we had this double date, he got super, super high with his friend, and me and the girl had to go find this car in the middle of this shady area. So this was nighttime already. These two guys were super high. We had to go find the car, and there was like just shady people everywhere, and it was super bad. And then the guy that I was dating, Johnny, he drove back 45 minutes while he was high. I was super mad, but I don't know why I just didn't Uber home, to be honest.
Or you could have called me because I had a car.
Yeah, that's true. So I could be like, hey, pick me up. This guy's fucking stupid. Yeah, that was so dumb. So please do not be under the influence and driving.
Yeah,
like, please do not.
And don't put yourself in a position where you are in a car. If you find yourself being in that position, tell that person to pull over. Do what you gotta do. Don't let them drive.
Let's just say after that, we never spoke again.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully. No, that was a red flag on its own.
Yeah. What about you?
Okay, so to end this episode, I will tell you a story that to this day, my cousin and Jules fear a little bit, perhaps, when looking back. So I was dating this guy. We had been talking for about 2 months or so, head over heels over this guy. You know, I really was all over him. It was a Tinder match, so I hadn't met him yet. And so we decided to go on a date. And for some reason, our date was really late at night, like really late at night. Like, he took me out to dinner at like 9 or 10 p.m. Yeah, it was like 9 or 10 p.m. when we met up in person, and we went to Yard House. And this Yard House is at a mall. So the service provider that I had at the time was not the best in that area. So I didn't have a good service. But prior to my date, because I'm a smart lady, I had sent my friends a text of who I was going with, a picture of what he looked like, and where I was going, and a picture of my outfit. Just in case she
goes missing or something, we know how to find her.
Exactly. And so, I go meet up with this guy, and on my end, time is going by so fast. The chemistry is great, having a great time. And I didn't realize that an hour had already gone by, and, time just went by really fast. So it was already getting late, and I wasn't checking my phone, obviously. And so I step away to go to the restroom, because all of a sudden I do get like a feeling that my phone was just going off constantly, like nonstop. It was like I got all the messages all at once, and I see that my phone is blowing up, like it's almost freezing because of that's how many messages I had. And so I excused myself to go to the restroom, and I try to call my cousin because I saw that I had so many missed calls from her, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, it's already like almost midnight at this point, if not already past midnight. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why do they keep calling me? Jules had been calling me, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I tried calling them back, but like I said, I didn't have service. So, you know, it is what it is. So I have our date, you know, it's already like 1:30 in the morning. We literally shut the place down. Like, the lights had already been on and we were still there. So we, you know, left. I had a great time. As soon as I exit the restaurant and say bye to him, my phone once again blows off and like blows up. I'm like, what's going on? Why does my cousin keep calling me? So I finally answer the phone, and my cousin is calling, like talking to me. She's crying hysterically. And she's like, oh my God, Daisy, I thought you were dead. Where are you? Like, Matthew, which is her husband, is literally like, we're here at the mall. Because like I said, I told him where I was. Like, we're looking for you. Like, we thought you were dead. Like, get in the car right now. Like, I'm literally right in front. She's like, I'll drive you to your car. So I get in the car, and I'm like, okay, like, God, like,
yeah, and
relax.
At this point, Daisy was like annoyed at us.
Yeah.
But okay.
I get in the car, and Jules is on the phone with my cousin. So I'm gonna let her take over from there.
Yes. So, okay. Something we have is like, you know, safety first. Now that we've learned from our naiveness, if that's even a word, but let's create it if it's not. You know, we just try to keep each other safe. So if we're going out with people who we don't know, we're meeting for the first time, we kind of always just check in. We're not trying to be annoying and like blow up somebody's phone, you know, but it's just like, hey, I'm good. Everything's good. And that's it. Like, you know,
and we share our locations.
Yeah, we share a location, all of that. So I couldn't see her location.
Because I didn't have service.
Yeah, the messages weren't sending anymore. Nothing on Snapchat. We were literally like trying to blow her up because it's unlike her to not respond. Do you know what I mean? So what we were thinking was like, oh my God, she got in this guy's car. Like, he probably murdered her already. She's like lying in a ditch
There's like
somewhere.
a lake nearby. My cousin thought he probably like threw my body in the lake.
Yes, like we were literally going from her just being on a date to the worst case scenario. She's in that lake right there.
Like, literally, my cousin was like 2 seconds away from calling my parents and saying like, she's on a date. We don't know where she is. And like, she wanted to call the cop. Like, she wanted to like... That's how worried they were, that they were literally going to wake up my parents at 2 a.m.
It was bad. So I think we freaked out more when we told each other we were freaking out. So I was freaking out on my own at my house. I was kind of like, you know, it's just weird. Like, I'm a little bit worried. Like, I even went to go wake up my cousin because at the time she lived with us. And I was like, hey, like, I'm really worried about Day. Like, I don't know what's going on. And she's like, I'm sure she's fine. She's just having a good time. Like, she's way younger than us. And she's like trying to calm me down. I was like, no, you know what? It's weird. So then literally at that same time that I was telling her that, Laura, her cousin, she texted me. She's like, hey, I'm freaking out. Day's not answering. And then I just call her. I was like, I'm freaking out too. Like, blah, blah, blah. And me and her just crying. And I was like, at this time, I was like changing. I was like throwing clothes on because I was already in my PJs and stuff. And her cousin's like, you know what? Like, just stand by. Like, don't drive down here. Because I was about to drive down here.
Which, keep in mind, Jules and I live relatively close, but we actually don't live super close. We live about like 40 minutes away from each other.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm about to drive down there. Like, you know, I was completely freaking out. I was like, my friend is probably dying somewhere. And with my true crime obsession, I was like, fuck no, there is no time to waste. Like, let's go find her. So then, after like a little while, Laura calls me and she's like, hey, Day's here already. And like, I think that's when
and like they were like yelling at me.
We were mad. Like, they were so mad.
Yeah, which I understand why they're worried, but I think they were getting more frustrated with me because I was just like, I'm fine. Like, relax.
Yeah, I think because her response was like being annoyed at us for like being hysterical, I guess.
Yeah.
So we got mad at her being like annoyed. Like, how are you annoyed?
Yeah.
Like, we thought you were dead. We were worried about you.
Yes, and I understood that, but the part that annoyed me is that you guys were like, you weren't answering, and it's like, I didn't have service. I didn't even know you guys were trying to contact me.
I know.
And so I think it was like all of us, just too many emotions at once. Me being annoyed at the fact that like I felt like you guys didn't understand that it was out of my control.
Yeah.
And like you guys just being so worried that you're like, oh
yeah,
my
no,
God.
and you know what? Like, I did understand that. Even right when you said it, I was like, oh, shouldn't I have service? Like, there was no way. But like, I was still so in shock that like I did not know how to release my emotions anymore. And that's why like me and Laura just kept crying still. And like, we were like mad, even though we knew like it's not your fault, you know?
Exactly.
But that was literally like one of the scariest things ever, because I was like, my friend is probably in that freaking lake dead.
And you know what? It just goes to show that my friends are freaking amazing, like out here willing to drive out. And my family, like my cousin Laura, I consider her like one of my best friends too, but she's like my cousin. But like amazing, the fact that her and her husband like came out, and like her husband went inside the restaurant to see if I was there, and he saw me and he went back and reported, and he's like, no, yeah, she's there with the guy. Like, but I was so focused on him, and we were like having such good chemistry that literally the whole world disappeared. It was just him and I.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so, you know, be careful, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody who's listening. Share your location if you're going to go out on a date with someone. Here we are throwing a little bit of health and wellness to you. Share your location. Take a picture of your outfit and send it to someone that you trust. Just you never know. You never know.
And maybe we've become way too paranoid with all these true crime podcasts and shows or whatever. But at the same time, you know what? No, because now we know that we need to stay safe, and we need to take whatever measures possible to stay safe. So
exactly,
ladies, watch some true crime shows. It'll show you how to keep yourself safe. So yeah, share your location, do anything you need to do to stay safe. Okay.
And how the Crime Junkie podcast says, be weird, be rude, stay alive. Be safe, ladies. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you so much, Jules, for being on here today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this lighthearted episode showing a little bit of our, you know, yet again, dumb bitchitis that we so happily experience pretty often. But yeah, here we are. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys can relate. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, embrace the day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.